A sound mind in a sound body. That ancient wisdom is something to which many of us aspire. And it's the reason your elementary school had both a gymnasium and a library. Admirable goals in and of themselves. But is there a direct link between the two? Tonight, a look at the effort to prove that mental stress directly affects your physical health. ABC's Juju Chang reports.
Damn it. Dad! You see him go? I'm moving it!
It's a familiar image. The stressful event, the clutch. And then a heart attack.
I had him.
At least in Hollywood, it's a dramatic cliche that we all sort of believe. Stress can trigger a heart attack. But is that true? We all think we know the big risk factors for heart disease: smoking, obesity, family history, even depression. But surprisingly, researchers have yet to definitively prove in a lab that mental stress can also be a major risk factor. Researchers are now conducting the largest test to date to look at the impact of mental stress on the human heart.
You know, I'm a firm believer that there's the mind-body connection.
In this test, doctors monitor 51-year-old Karen Johnson's blood flow as she recalls a stressful event.
And see if you can identify something that made you irritated or aggravated or angry.
Karen has an incredibly stressful job as a social worker. In this exercise, she recalls her frustration trying to cut through government bureaucracy and get financial aid for the single mother of an autistic child.
And I can tell you how frustrating it was never to get this person on the phone. And it was clear that even though we had made a lot of noise to this worker, that she wasn't returning our phone calls. So
yes.
I called the governor's office.
You know, so yes, you're describing this as frustrating, but what do you think is going on with these people?
It was the whole system that was so difficult to deal with.
Studies have found that the experience of moderate to extreme anger increases risk for a heart attack for up to 2 hours after the experience of that anger.
Researchers at Yale are also using personality tests to find out whether some people are more susceptible to stress.
When angry, I slam doors. When angry, I keep it to myself. If somebody does me wrong, I try to get back at them. The dimensions that we're most interested in have to do with anger and hostility, since these have been shown prospectively to predict who will develop heart disease and who will have acute or catastrophic cardiac events.
Dr. Robert Sufer of the Yale School of Medicine is creating a standardized mental stress test to help pinpoint patients who might otherwise slip through the cracks. He says the standard treadmill exercise stress test is not enough.
We've had patients who've had chest pain when they've been emotionally upset, either on the phone or some altercation. But when you exercise them, they don't show that they're having myocardial ischemia, which is a low blood flow. It's occurred to us that many of these patients then they're lost in the system.
Sufer believes a mental stress test could help save lives because many people who have heart disease don't even know it until they have a fatal heart attack. That was the case with Roger Craig. He died of a heart attack in January. He was 38.
He didn't get to say goodbye. He wasn't sick. You know, it was just so sudden.
He didn't have a family history of heart disease, and while he was overweight, nobody, even his sister with a master's degree in public health, knew that Roger was at risk.
My parents called him a gentle giant. He was 6'4", but he was the gentlest and kindest person.
Everyone says you should eat right and exercise. No one thinks their brother's going to drop dead of a heart attack.
No.
How common is it for someone's first cardiac event to be a heart attack?
Very common. Sudden death is the most common initial manifestation of heart disease. That's why prevention is so important.
Get out of here! Studies show that sudden, catastrophic events also have an impact. Local hospitals saw a significant increase in the number of heart attacks in the hours after 9/11. After the Northridge, California earthquake in 1994, and even after Scuds were launched into Israel during the Gulf War in 1991. Dr. David Sheps is in charge of a long-term study funded by the National Institutes of Health.
We all think we know of somebody who takes life really hard and reacts to stress.
Right. What we call so-called hot reactors, or people who don't handle stress very well.
Sheps believes long-term stress can damage the blood vessel wall, which can lead to narrowing of the coronary arteries.
Most people are not aware of how they respond to stress.
Take Herman Bauer, who prides himself on taking things in stride and keeping his stress levels down by playing golf and laughing off tension. He and his buddies don't even keep score.
This is a typical day. Where did the ball land? And we don't know.
Like all of Dr. Sheps's research subjects, he has chronic heart disease. He's had quadruple bypass, 5 stents, 5 angioplasties, and 2 strokes.
When I had my heart surgery, doctor told my wife I was living my last day.
That's
so
stressful.
this is in '98.
Wow.
And so, hey, everything's gravy now.
You look great.
Everything is gravy.
Herman has agreed to participate in a test where Sheps's team create truly upsetting, deeply stressful scenarios to see what psychological stress does to his heart function.
Okay, you ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Herman is asked to imagine that his mother is being abused in a nursing home.
She is being denied pain medication, denied access to the bathroom or bedpans when needed.
He must now confront a mock staff member, and for added stress, he's being videotaped.
We'll begin your preparation time now. You have 2 minutes. Start.
Okay, I'm here to approach you people on night staff in a nursing home about treatment with my mother.
During the test, Dr. Sheps is imaging the way the patient's heart is working, as well as monitoring blood pressure. He'll do this with 300 patients. In many patients, the heart scans have shown decreased blood flow to the front of the heart.
That's an example of a fairly severe defect induced by mental stress.
A defect caused by stress that can ultimately affect heart rhythm and trigger a heart attack.
It's hard to see a woman who is given so much suffer and the dignity taken from her.
So how would you feel about that if they...
How would I feel about it? Anger wouldn't start. Payback is how...
In his case, there were no changes in the functioning of Herman's heart during the test, but his blood pressure was off the charts.
And then the peak blood pressure during the speech, it goes up to 186.
If you can imagine somebody with heart disease who reacts to multiple daily life situations by raising their blood pressure frequently, stress does a lot of other things that promote these kinds of bad situations, such as making the blood more sticky, making it easier for blood to clot.
Nobody knows why Roger Craig died so unexpectedly of heart failure. Stress, unlike obesity or smoking, can be a hidden killer. His family says in spite of his gentle demeanor, he was under pressure.
What role, if any, do you think stress had?
I think stress contributed to it, absolutely. He was stressed. He was stressed. He was actually looking for work, and so that was stressing him. It was very sudden and very much of a surprise. And he himself, I don't think, really understood that that could happen so suddenly.
The effect that the mind can have on the body. So relax, have a glass of wine, meditate, relieve your stress. Our thanks to ABC's Juju Chen.